As I normally do, I just want to thank our fans to move our game around and the uncertainty of the weather, and I think we planned it out pretty good. If I look outside, we got it a nice scrimmage in front of 50,000 people, and I think it was very productive. Obviously, nowadays with the health of players, I think we're doing it the right way. I know sometimes you get criticized because you start the first 3 or 4 sets of the scrimmage with just two-hand tag, and it's just too critical, and too fragile right now that that's just the way it is. So I appreciate our fans. I told our team there's a reason why Malcolm Jenkins and Shaziers and you can see some of the great players in the last 6, 7 years, they just love to come back, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I just think it's because of Buckeye Nation, how strong it is to see Andrew Norrell get saluted by Buckeye Nation, to see Malcolm come back as a Super Bowl champion, and then one of my favorite players of all time, Ryan Shazier, going through a little bit of a tough time, that he can share it with people he cares deeply about, and that's Buckeye Nation and his old teammates and old coaches. So once again, I just want to be real clear about that. And real clear about 2 objectives of our objectives of the spring game are find out who can perform in a environment where it's it's not a practice field, it's the stadium, and it is kind of loud in there. It's a much different environment. It's also little things, how do you focus and track the ball when it's a crowd behind you. It's much different than an indoor facility. So it is very valuable, and that's why we didn't want to just bag it. And we worked really hard. I know Gene Smith and everybody just trying to work really hard to find the appropriate time to not put people in harm's way and also get a good scrimmage. And so that's objective number 1. Objective number 2, a lot of recruits come here, and it's kind of nice to showcase that you every year I think we lead the country, and I'm not sure we'll do it this year because of construction and the weather, but every year that our guys come out and support our team and that. So I know I'm going to get a bunch of questions about the quarterback. I'll go and answer one of them right now, and that is that we're going to have to make some decisions. Those decisions have not been made. I thought Tate Martell showed his athleticism that's kind of caught my eye really since he's been here, and even more as of late. He's got to work, obviously, on his throwing the ball and et cetera. But a lot of times you're throwing to young receivers and receivers that just aren't productive right now. You got Joe Burrow and Dwayne obviously competing right now along with Tate, and so we're just going to have to next week. I'm going to take the weekend off. We got recruiting and that, but on Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have some very good meetings and productive meetings. I want to see all the statistical data that we have charted everything and go from there. Other key positions are that Brady Taylor is leaving spring ball as our starting center. I'm not saying that's the way it is for the fall yet, but it's pretty close. He did very good. Josh Myers had a very good, productive spring as well. We had 3 offensive linemen out for really the majority of spring. Brendan Bowen and Michael Jordan are 2 guys that for sure are going to be playing a lot for us, and those are 2 guys we need to be healthy and ready to go. It's the first time I feel like we can have a solid 2 deep in the offensive line if everybody does what they're supposed to do this summer. 2 deep across the offensive line. That's not been that way around here. So our guys have recruited well, developed well, and now we just got to keep going. Tight end, you notice I pulled out Luke Farrell, and as of we finished spring practice, he'll be the starting tight end at Ohio State. He had a very good spring. That's as of now. I'm not making him the starter, but he's earned that right, and so we popped him out. Jake Hausman has gotten better as well. Rashad Berry has suffered 2 stingers the other day. That's why he did not play. And other than that, the 2 running backs did well. Antonio Williams had a very good, productive spring as well. Receivers, you didn't see much of the guys that played a lot of ball around here. And we're still waiting for, Vic, I kept him in there because he has to just keep getting better. And Jalen Harris had when he gets tired, like a lot of athletes, they just aren't very good. But he had some plays today, and he's had a very productive spring. I imagine he's very close to being in the rotation. On defense, Nick Bosa, obviously we got him out. He's had an excellent spring. The guy that has probably had the best spring of anybody on our team is Draymond Jones, and he was outstanding this spring. For a guy to come back when a lot of people thought he should leave, a lot of times we have to deal with whether it be effort issues or why am I doing this issues, zero. And that's a credit to his family and Larry Johnson. He had a great spring. And if he continues his development, he could be one of the best in America at what he does. Linebacker is still open as well with the injury to Tuff Borland. I thought Baron Browning played very good today. I think Hilliard is right in the middle of that thing too. And so we'll see. So that's kind of where we're at. We have a three-man rotation at corner right now with Damon Arnett, Kendis Sheffield, and Jeffrey Okuda. Okuda obviously with a shoulder didn't play. But you know how we like to play three guys. There might be another one pop in there if they young guys keep developing. And the field safety is probably our #1 concern on our team. Right now we're just not quite sure who that is. Jordan Fuller will be a starter. Who the other guy is, that's Gociano and Alex Grinch. We're going to meet probably next Wednesday, and they're going to give me a depth chart, and we'll go from there. Our kicker did, I'm really proud of Nuremberger too. We don't usually talk about kickers, but that what you saw today, he's been very consistent throughout spring. So I'll answer your question.
Guys, we're going to have abbreviated questions because I got players, and we'll open up right here with Austin to the right.
Urban, just to go back to the quarterbacks, you talked about some meetings next week. I don't know what you'll say, how those things play out, but what's the process like? What all are you looking at? What do you think how difficult could it be for you the next couple days?
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to meet with Brian today, Ryan and Kevin Wilson today, briefly, and then I'm going to go recruit and see your families, get out of here. And Monday we're going to meet in earnest. I want to see all the data. Everything that we did all spring, and that helps me a little bit. That won't be the only decision. And then we just got to, what's best for Ohio State and what's best for those players.
Over to the left, Ari.
Hey, Urban, having Joe and Dwayne on the same team and going interchangeably, I think you guys might have done that last year. Does it make it easier to grade these guys out to see how they're doing when they're going? What was the decision-making behind the way you guys ran that?
Well, we've always drafted teams, and I kind of overrule the draft a lot of times because you want to have, it's not fair to have a true freshman that should be in high school trying to block Chase Young, or it just gets, it gets not a very productive scrimmage. There's a lot of sacks. If you want to see a lot of sacks, then that's probably what you do. We don't want to do that. I want to see Thayer Munford and Isaiah Prince block Nick Bosa and Chase Young, and Coop had a little hamstring. They didn't play much, but I want to see him block those guys. So you saw both teams, and it's the same with the wideouts. I can't remember which team had the better group of wideouts, and that's obviously the quarterback wants to be behind that group. So it's kind of first offense versus first defense, and so the rotation was on purpose. I can't remember who took the first snap. I didn't care, but Ryan wanted to make sure that we had a very good rotation and not just keep, Tate Martell's earned that right too. He wasn't just with the twos. Notice he rolled with the ones too. So it was just a three-man rotation throughout the whole day.
Over.
What's that?
Interchangeably between plays sometimes, though?
Interchangeably between plays.
It wasn't full drives. It was just,
Yeah, I didn't micromanage that. I let Coach Day handle that, and I think he was just kind of keeping track of plays and opportunities.
Over to the right, Rob.
Urban, is data the final indicator, or how much are intangibles? You've talked about toughness.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
talked about.
No.
What's the final?
That is second. That is second. It's just it's something that helps you because it's also factual. Intangibles are obviously that's going to be very involved in the decision.
How much does gut come into it? Just gut feeling.
Oh, I'm sure 30 years of gut, so that'll be a part of it too.
And we got to keep them to one question, please. Dan?
You mentioned Thayer Munford. He started at left tackle today. Isaiah started at right tackle. Is that something they've been working on all spring, and is that something you could see going forward?
Yeah, we've done both, and that decision has been made yet. But Isaiah's been playing a lot of left too, and I think we're just trying to get that rotation. Who's going to be the third tackle? Obviously, you got a good one coming in too. Josh Allaby with Nick Petit. He's a guy that's been here watching, and a very talented young man. And then you got Josh Allaby's also has earned a right maybe to get in a little bit. So we're just kind of figuring out what's best.
Over here to the right, Clay.
Do you expect those three guys to come back, those quarterbacks to be back in the fall, or are those decisions?
I hope so. I'm going to just leave it there. I hope so. I don't.
Over to the left here, Bill.
Just in a general way, how good do you feel about this team coming out of the spring, and how many questions do you have still about them?
A lot of questions. You lost, you saw those cats out there getting that championship ring. It's a little bit like when you say goodbye to the 2014 national champs. I know we didn't win a national championship, but that was a heck of a team we had last year. And a heck of a group of older players that I love to death and went through the wars together. So I'm pretty pleased with where we're at. This is not where we were last year, where it was a veteran team.
Urban,
Over to the left, yep.
You've talked all spring about how the quarterbacks have gone back and forth from day to day. It looked today like Joe would be in there and move the offense and looked like things were going pretty well. And then Dwayne would just make some throws that make your eyes light up a little bit. Is that what it's been like at times that spring? That it seems like Dwayne sometimes just does things that not a lot of quarterbacks can do with his arm.
That's probably a true statement. A very accurate and live arm. Joe has gone from, he has to be one of the most improved quarterbacks as far as delivery speed and arm. He's always been a very smart, tough guy and a very good leader. But his improvement is very notable over the last really couple years. That started a couple years ago where you see the ball coming out much faster. And so I think they both have very good arms.
Last question right here, Tim.
Yeah, Urban, you talked about Draymond Jones. This will be two questions in one. Draymond Jones, when you talk about him having this great spring, what exactly from a coach's standpoint are you talking about? And follow up with that, Benjamin Victor, is he finally taking the bit? I mean, what do you see out of him that maybe says good things going forward?
Well, one of the mantras, you heard the 5 concept, and that's be an elite competitor or fierce competitor. And then number 2 on the spring objectives was everyone's going to have a 1-loss record. And some are very proud of it and some are not. And we've charted everything. I mean, like went through back in January, any competitive situations, all the way through spring. For example, if I'm a wide receiver against a defensive back, in that situation, you're either win or you lose it. Same in blocking, same with all kinds of. And so when they meet with me next week, I'm going to have a sheet of paper, and in front of me it's going to say winner, how many times he won, how many lost. And that's where I'm so proud of Draymond is I can't wait to see it. I got a feeling I know what it's going to look like. Not a whole lot of losses in there. In the competitive situations. You know, what I don't want to do is put a guy like him and Bosa, I call it that 2,000 rep club, guys that have already been, you know, in competitive situations. He doesn't need to do that, but he does need to be in competitive situations where people stay up, and he's won most of those.
Great.
Has Victor become, I guess for one of word, more consistent? What's the word you would use there?
He's still got a ways to go. You know, that's one of the most talented receivers we've ever had. And it's consistency and the fight and those kind of things, because when he does, it's fun to watch. And you saw, you know, I think it was Michigan State had a great play and very talented guy.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.